Well, the Supreme Court won't hear oral arguments until the end of April. Now, let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything.
Yeah.
You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh. Huge day for Donald Trump and for the country, no question. It's been a great week for Donald Trump so far. Weekend into this week, and it seems like it just keeps coming. There's more to the wins, and it's been great because he started with a debate, and we kind of just showed everybody, I guess, where they couldn't help but notice how bad Joe Biden was. They were denying it, up and down, and I guess on the national stage they just couldn't deny it any longer. So now everybody's panicking. But now there's even more panic with the Supreme Court opinion coming down this morning, and it's great. I'm wearing my Trump DBZ shirt. I'm pretty hyped about all this, as you can tell. So yeah, I have an opinion on presidential immunity. It doesn't matter what I think, but it really matters what the Supreme Court thinks, and it's great that, we got to this point, I guess. It's sad that it actually came to this point, I should say, but it's great that this opinion was, majority in favor, because the fact that it's something that has just been kind of assumed. We never had to really talk about this until all this craziness with the leftist revolution going on here, that every day railing on about it, and you see Whoopi right there, like that's an old clip a couple months ago, but they're just going on and on about hypotheticals and just fear-mongering, and what about this and what about that, and bringing up all these scenarios that are just like, well, that hasn't happened. So I mean, it's nice to pontificate, but why are we talking about it? Oh, because Donald Trump. I mean, that's what they're saying, that's what they're insinuating, is that Donald Trump's gonna do one of, enforce these type of things. He hasn't committed a crime. They keep acting like he's committed a crime because all of this is about crime, and crimes, and I guess you could high crimes is something else. This is just regular crimes, and no one's above the law. But essentially, this opinion, they've kind of their theory, or what they say, is that the president is kind of different than a normal human, or than a normal citizen, I should say. And I mean, it's hard to deny that. I feel like, no one should be above the law, but at the same time, obviously I'm not making decisions to go invade a country, well, not invade, but to go bring troops here or bring troops there, or do huge things that are consequential to the world and to our country. So obviously there's a difference. But the thing, they're completely misrepresenting this opinion, this situation, all of it, and they're going after the Supreme Court, which is very dangerous. And I want to get into the opinion, and then talk a little bit about how they're going nuts, and it's really not good for the country, the way that they're acting. And I don't want to use the word unprecedented, because it's kind of like almost like law, because there's a precedent when a judge brings a ruling down or whatever and becomes precedent. This is more like unthinkable. These are things that never would have been thought of before, haven't been thought of before. We never brought it up before. Nobody was worried about it, and now all of a sudden we are. And I think it's something that's should be unthinkable to begin with, but here we are. So let's get into just the opinion. I keep saying ruling, but you know what I mean. So, hold on. Let me put this back here. There we go. So here is the CBS News, and they kind of put this out pretty succinct and nice. They said Chief Justice John Roberts wrote this opinion for the majority. He divided presidential conduct into 3 categories. So this is kind of like the main focal point of his opinion. Three categories: official acts that are part of a president's core constitutional powers. These are things like the vetoing power and pardoning, different things that we just kind of know a president can do, or has been, yeah. And then they're like typically minor things. Then other official acts that are outside the exclusive authority that those core constitutional powers. So I would assume, decisions that are made like globally, or just big decisions, but it's things that presidents would have to make. And then presidents have absolute immunity. Oh, and official acts. Sorry, unofficial acts. So unofficial acts are just, well, we'll get into this. Let me read this last line here. Presidents have absolute immunity for the first category. That's the core constitutional powers. Presumptive immunity for the second. That's the things that, typical things that presidents do. And you have presumptive as in like, well, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt at least. And maybe, I guess there's room to bring them to trial, maybe if it's egregious or something like that. But first you have to impeach. So that's the one thing that a lot of the leftists are forgetting or missing. But and then no immunity for the third. So the third is like egregious, ridiculous, nothing to do with presidential acts, crimes. So if a president goes and just murders somebody on the street for no reason, obviously that's not part of presidential action. So this is something that somehow goes past the typical lefty, and they have no idea. But there's no immunity for that, is what he's saying. Of course, they all want to attack him and still come after these justices. They're all pissed, and we'll get into how pissed they are about that, and all the uproar that they're committing. They're having. The president enjoys no immunity for his unofficial acts, and not everything the president does is official. The president is not above the law. See, that's what he says. But I knew that I knew this before I even heard. I heard there was some dissent. I knew it was Justice Sotomayor, at least. And I thought Ketanji Brown Jackson. Well, it is. It's them and Kagan, I think, is the third. So it was 6-3. But I'm sorry, Sotomayor, she's just not smart. She's not a Supreme Court justice. Like, she's just not up to snuff with everybody else. I remember that I saw this clip like a year ago or something of her on like C-SPAN, or she was in some, speaking, and somebody asked her, somebody kind of grilled her, I don't know if it was Ted Cruz or somebody, on just a simple part of the Constitution, like an amendment or something, and she had no answer. She couldn't. It was like, what does this Third Amendment say? Or it wasn't third, but it was like, what does this amendment say? And she didn't even know. So is that kind of like one of the major things you got to know as a Supreme Court justice of the country, the highest ruling of the land? Like, you think you should know the Constitution? And the things she says, she's just not really smart. I hate to say it, but of course she was the biggest dissent of them all. And but anyway, let's get back into it. But Congress may not criminalize the president's conduct in carrying out the responsibilities of the executive branch under the Constitution. The ruling makes it highly unlikely that trial will happen before the November presidential election, since the district court is now instructed to examine some of the allegations contained in the indictment to determine whether they fall within the scope of immunity. So this pisses them off. They wanted all of his cases to be done before the election. They wanted to get him. They wanted to rush them. Now that's an unprecedented thing, rushing these cases just to get done before the election, so that he could just be put in jail or just not, eligible for presidency anymore. So yeah, it's just, they're pissed. Here's Gary Schmidt, just explaining. Roberts gives absolute immunity to a president employing a core constitutional power, such as, in his reading, the president's pardon power. So, yeah, he's a senior fellow at, I believe he used to work in the White House at the American Enterprise Institute. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's pretty far on the left, I think. And, yeah, I mean, look at this guy. Selling pardons is now completely legal. What could go wrong? It always was. These people act like, oh, now something has changed. This is how it always was and always should be. And yeah, it's funny that these people don't understand, and they're misrepresenting, like I said, the opinion. So here's the New York Times. Immunity ruling escalates long rise of presidential power. Okay, long rise of presidential power. So they just think they're just pushing the narrative of Trump's going to be a dictator, and we're just getting worse and worse with the powers of the presidency and blah blah blah. I mean, here's just a couple of snippets from the relationship of the president and the people he serves has shifted irrevocably. Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote an outraged dissent, joined by the court's other two liberals. In every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. Please, give me a break. Enough with this king talk. They keep all day. I've been hearing, he's now a king. He's a king. And another thing, Mr. Trump. New York Times. I know they're super lefty. I want to use these leftist outlets because just to show how ridiculous they are, obviously, but like they have some good nuggets in there too. Obviously they at least have some information that I can also pick on. But it's just isn't it like they try to think this is a dig, and it is pretty disrespectful. But no other president do they say Mr. Bush. It's always president after they've finished their term. It's always President Bush, President Clinton, but for him it's Mr. Trump. It's real cute. Yeah, that's you really got him. Anyway, Chief Justice John Roberts, writing the majority, argued, blah blah blah. We kind of read this a little bit. Unlike anyone else, he wrote, the president is a branch of government, and the Constitution vests in him sweeping powers and duties. It's true. And here's the key thing: does not place him above the law. He says that. That's what they love to spout. They love to say that. Preserves the basic structure of the Constitution from which the law derives. No, I've highlighted that because it's Mr. Trump. No former president before Mr. Trump President Trump has been charged with committing crimes while president. Well, you have to impeach first. So this whole hypothetical crap that Sotomayor has been doing, everybody, and we're going to see AOC, they don't understand. Evidently, they don't understand how it works. And yeah, that you have to impeach, then you can convict. And if it's an egregious crime, you can convict, but you just got to impeach first. But anyway, only Justice Amy Coney Barrett, I just think she issued a more restrained concurrence, siding with the dissent on whether prosecutors should at least be able to tell juries about a presidential official actions. I mean, she was in the majority. She agreed, but I don't know. Some of her decisions have been worrying me lately, or at least her, the way that she's been leaning with certain things. We already went through this. 3 categories: unofficial crimes, core constitutional powers, and official, official duties. Official actions. So here's more Justice Sotomayor. In her dissent, she portrayed that purported distinction is farcical, declaring that the majority invented a law-free zone rather than the president that will remain a loaded weapon for future occupants of the White House to wield. She listed nightmare scenarios. I mean, this is kind of how it's been, and we get to elect who we put in, in the White House. We don't just elect like someone who's murdered somebody or something like that. Like, a lot of people want Trump in office. A lot of people want Trump in the White House. He hasn't committed any crimes before. They can lie and say that he has. He hasn't. These are all fake witch hunt trials. He's squeaky clean. He hasn't committed any, he had at least violent crimes, and they're acting like, this is the end of the world. And this is why she's so stupid. I'm sorry, but this stupid Navy SEAL scenario. Orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power? Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon? Immune. Please. She's articulate a little better. Moving forward, however, all former presidents will be cloaked in such immunity. Get out of here. This is, like I said, if these things happen, you impeach and convict. There you go. That's the result. That's the way out of it. They act like this, you can't do anything about it. It's over. Here's the post-millennial. Oh, and here's another win. So the post-millennial writes, breaking, Trump moves, this just happened a couple hours ago. Trump moves to overturn NYC trial conviction cites SCOTUS immunity decision. So because the Supreme Court decided, put this opinion out, now he's starting to use it for other convictions that he's had. So this ridiculous one in New York City, he's using it towards that, and that's great. And they're just getting so much more pissed. And it looks like almost none of his trials are going to come before the election, so that's great. Yeah, Trump asked Manhattan, a hush money judge, to throw out a guilty verdict, so that would be great. Yeah, Supreme Court's immunity ruling. I mean, we all know this is BS, and yeah, it should be thrown out. Here's another New York Post. Biden says voters deserve Trump January 6th trial before election, ignores questions about dropping out. So it's just another, the president going out and the current president going out and saying, oh, we need to hasten this trial and conviction and make sure that it happens before the election. They just they're not even hiding their plan. It's like, this is unprecedented, and you just want to do it so that he can't, he gets put behind bars before the election. So here's AOC. Here's her totally sane response. The Supreme Court has become consumed by corruption crisis beyond its control. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. It is up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return. So I just want to say this. Obviously, we all know AOC is not very smart, but I think it's particularly bad and dangerous. These are the people that are ruining the country, honestly, when they do things like this, because you could say, oh, it's AOC, who cares? She's a dummy. No one cares what she thinks. Well, that's not true. They do care. She has like a cult following, and she's very popular. Her popular has transcended government and just Congress. She's not just like a congresswoman. She's kind of like an icon, a cultural icon. And I never forget when it was like 2019. She went on Twitch TV. This was a streaming gaming streaming server site, I should say, mainly gaming, but it's become all sorts of ridiculous stuff now. But she went on there, and I remember one of the biggest gamers at the time, Ninja, who he was getting million views, and just breaking the records of concurrent streaming views at the time. And she came on there just before the election. I think it was the midterms, and I think maybe it was 2018 then, but either way, or 22, sorry. But either way, she goes on there, goes with some lefty streamers, mostly girls, but it was a few guys there too, but they were all leftists, and she plays games with them and breaks the record in one night of concurrent viewers. And it's just kind of annoying. It's not illegal, obviously, but it's just kind of annoying. She has a lot of influence, and she goes onto Twitch and does kind of this thing that, I mean, Republicans should do it more. They should just do it. The Democrats are always ahead of the Republicans with this type of stuff, but it's just annoying that she goes on there. It's obviously to push the narrative, hey, vote Democrat, vote Democrat. It was right before the election. So it's just dangerous because she's so influential. And when she says something like this, people are going to follow and listen. And this is like illegal, or it's definitely a crime. It's not, it shouldn't, it's immoral, and it's definitely illegal too, to threaten the SCOTUS. And that's all they've been doing. They want to just threaten and get more people, the angry mob, to go after them. I mean, no more than Nancy Pelosi, which this is her response. Today, the Supreme Court has gone rogue with its decision, violating the foundational American principle that no one is above the law. The former president's claim of total presidential immunity is an insult to the vision of our founders. You don't know anything about the founders. Shut up. Who declared independence from a king. Now we're going to be back to a king. Please stop. And total immunity. It's not total immunity. I mean, these people didn't read it. They obviously, they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's drunk. Everybody knows she's completely out of it all the time. The Supreme Court placed itself on trial with its decision, she goes on to say, and its credibility has been further diminished in the eyes of all those who believe in the rule of law. Read my full statement. Blah, blah, blah. No thanks. And Nancy Pelosi is not, as bad as AOC, because who cares about Nancy? Everybody knows she has her own little following, I guess you could say, but it's nothing compared to AOC. And I just feel like she she doesn't know what she's doing when she does this type of stuff. She's really creating more division, more anger, more violence potential, and it's just not good. Not good. But yeah, I mean, personally, I think, yeah, the president should have some sort of immunity to things that they do. Otherwise, I want my president to be able to say, hey, let's do this, do it now, and let's go. And not have any hesitations or worries or thinking, hey, if I do this, like, is this okay? Is this legal? You can't have that. It's over. If you wait, if 1 second, 1 hour, 1 day waiting, hesitating, it's no good. And we can't have president. It's this type of precedent. We can't have presidents, worrying about that. And obviously, there's a difference between, there's a limit. I don't want presidents just going out there willy-nilly killing people. Like, that's completely different. And it's funny that they are so mad about this January 6th thing, which every Democrat has done. Well, I should say, questioning the election. Every Democrat has done for the past, 20 years. They act like it's some kind of new thing with Trump. And compare that to Obama, who killed American citizens. So, in Yemen, Anwar al-Awlaki and I think his father, that's a different thing. And this opinion gives him immunity too. But it's different. It's different than questioning an election and wanting to see through with that and drone striking people. So it's a tough middle ground. Obviously you don't want your president to just be doing that type of stuff, but they act like Trump's the one who's doing that. It's all the leftists, typically, the Democrats, who are typically doing that. And yeah, in the video here, there's some extra clips that I wanted to show. They don't really totally fit in here, but I guess they kind of do, because it's just about just the Dems losing it this past week. This is just the times I saw, the way that they word stuff. Supreme Court's immunity ruling escalates. Long rise of presidential power. I think I showed that over here. It's just, come on. Everything they do is escalatory. It's more divisive. They're talking about hypotheticals that haven't happened. And, it's like they want it to happen, or they want to be able to do it themselves. Like the Whoopi thing in the beginning, she's talking about, Trump hasn't done that. He didn't do that. He said Hillary should have been in jail. He didn't do it. Well, he didn't do it. But now they're doing that. Political prisoners, putting, rule of lawfare. And it's always Trump, though. It's always the right and the conservatives and the Republicans that are acting funny. Come on. America sees through that. Let's stop with that. And then, here's a clip of Nancy Pelosi. I'm just going to play it.
My people are very much Biden, Kamala Harris, and this is an opportunity for Joe Biden to go out there and show he has the stamina and the rest. And by the way, while the press, and for some reason they don't, there are healthcare professionals who think that Trump has dementia, that his connection, his thoughts do not go together.
Come on! What the Nobody believes you! Look at this! This is the face of dementia. I was cracking up the first time I saw that. That's just too funny. Too funny. But yeah, great day. I'm going to leave it there. Amazing. Keep the wins coming. And yeah, don't forget, just because you don't take an interest in the government doesn't mean the government won't take an interest in you. See you next time. Peace.